Alright, so today's video is something a bit different. We're taking a bit of a different turn because I called this an observational video, so take it as you will. And also, if my voice sounds a bit off, I am still recovering from a cold, so yeah, that's fun. But anyways, so today I really want to take a look at streaming culture in general, just because I find that it's a bit of a strange place. It feels like a giant rabbit hole with a lot of different connecting parts. And just for the record, there are some streamers I genuinely like, okay? But I find that the people who are like the face of streaming, and I find like people who talk about this kind of stuff, it's all over the place, which is really what I want to get into. So what I mean by streaming culture in general is just that I find talking about events around streaming, discussions around streaming, and this includes people as who also stream on YouTube full time. So it doesn't necessarily apply to Twitch streamers, but it can apply to anyone who just does it full time. And when you really break it down, some people might ask, why would you find streaming successful? Why do people still do it? Why do people try to get into it? And it's kind of like this. On an audience perspective, look at a superstar, for instance. Look at your favorite actor or actress. Can you see them every day, or do you only see them in a movie? Well, guess what? That's like an artificial barrier that's between you and that person. But with the idea of streaming, you're seeing somebody broadcast themselves 24/7, or and after you see that broadcasting, you say okay, I'm starting to understand who this person is and what kind of person they are. And guess what? I can type in chat and even interact with them. And so that is really what I find a lot of people find appealing about streaming. It's almost like you're talking to a person, even though ironically there's still a barrier between you and that person. But regardless, so that also leads to stuff like parasocial behavior, because now that you believe that you and this person have a relationship, guess what? It's not really. And in case you need a definition, just to understand, basically, according to the dictionary here, I believe it's Cambridge, involving or relating to a connection between a person and someone they do not know personally, for example, a famous person or a character in a book. And so you might be asking yourself, well, how could you get there? Well, imagine you stick on stream and someone streams for about, on average, I believe most people do it for 7 to 8 hours a day. So people will believe that they know you, but it kind of doesn't really work like that, because to really understand somebody, you have to see them outside of the camera. So what you see on camera is not necessarily what not really what you get. And especially I think YouTube too, it also applies as well, where it's you may hear my voice behind a computer or behind your phone, whatever, or you might hear, or maybe you might see me on camera one of these days. I'm still not talking to you. It's more like I'm talking at you because I'm here to present something. So what I'm presenting to you is not always indicative of my whole personality. Now, not to say that there's none in it, but I'm just saying it's still not really me, if that makes sense. Though, hopefully, most people try to be as authentic as possible, because that's really how you get people to, follow your stuff. And some really dangerous. Well, actually, we'll go from mild. So, a mild version of parasocial behaviors, on this little subreddit here, where someone's oh, this person unfollowed this person on Instagram. Have they broken up? And it's kind of you look at that and you're that's not really any of my business, anyways. But it's so stupid. So people take the smallest stuff and then somehow stretch it. And by the way, these are famous people. These are kind of niche people. And then, well, niche in the sense that they're not mainstream. And then you have some other examples here with Amaranth and with her stalker, where it's very extensive, but long story short, he ended up selling all of his stuff to go move and stalk her, and would stream about it. So that's where we are now. So that's the two spectrums of parasocial behavior. It's not always one specific this is this way. It's a spectrum. So that's where we are now. But now you'll be asking yourself, Ashi, what do you mean by it's a bit weird? And ironically, with all this parasocial stuff that I've noticed, I find that the streamers themselves are always they almost are they kind of live in a different world, which makes sense. But it's ironic because you're trying to show yourself as relatable, but you're also streaming. You're also not relatable at the same time. But I'm going to show you what I mean in a second. So let's go to our first example, actually. So using Twitch as an example here, if you want to look at what's the most popular section on Twitch, it's usually always going to be just chatting, okay? Even though, ironically, Twitch started out as a gaming site, or at least places for esports and all that, It ended up being to the point where just chatting is where a lot of people go. That's where a lot of people put their streams under. And as you can see here, there's a lot of people on just chatting. And then you have stuff like gaming, like Marvel, Rivals, League of Legends, all that. So there's niches, but just chatting seems to be the biggest one. And somebody who's rather popular in this is Pokimane. Now, before we get into the whole Pokemon stuff, what I mean by disconnecting in this particular sense right now is just relatability. This is what I mean entirely. And so there was a clip that actually circled not too long ago about her saying like, "Oh, I want to like, eat the rich. Why are so many people rich?" But let's actually listen to her words first, and then I'm going to explain why it sounds a bit off, if that makes sense.
Do you think someday we'll have a revolution like that in America? Right? It's getting there, right?
We already have one.
Another one.
What's going on?
The wealth disparity is getting bad.
The wage gap, I hate that shit.
No, wealth disparity.
Wealth disparity.
Wage gap is like between men and women. Men and women, we love each other.
Facts.
And we hate the rich. Anyway. Too much.
Aren't you the rich?
No! Like the ultra rich, the ultra giga rich, the
You have to
unnecessarily
clarify.
rich.
They're gonna clip that and it's gonna make you look bad.
Oh,
You
the
gotta
ultra
say
giga
you gotta
rich.
say the billionaires.
The billionaires.
you are rich.
The Bezos.
You can't be saying that.
I am. I'm rich in friendship.
Yes.
So now that we have context about this clip, the reason why if you're somebody who doesn't make a lot of money and this won't sit right with you is just because like, no matter how much she says the billionaires, the ultra rich people, she's still benefiting off the whole system or capitalism as it is. Now, I don't really care if she's benefiting, you know, she did work for it, okay? It's not like she got it for free, but either way, if I pull up like an example of like your average salary in America, and we'll even make it sweeten the deal, and she's in like her mid to late 20s. So according to what website I have here, and I got roughly around the same number when I looked it over in other places. So just for sake of like scale, according to this, age of 25 to 34 is about $50,000 in America, at least per year. That's the average salary. Now, of course, with I believe that's from 2024. And now think about it this way, with the whole people worried about inflation and prices going up and this and that, $50,000 ain't really gonna cut it, especially if you have other expenses that really drain your account. And so there was a leak actually not too long ago where if you look at the top, like apparently if you look at the top streamers on Twitch, and in 2022, yeah, there's a leak and saying that Pokimane made about $1.5 million, okay, on Twitch. Now, that is nothing to scoff at, okay? And most people don't have a concept of money, so if you have to understand that, you know, it's kind of a bit much. You know what I mean? So how do you tell somebody who makes $50,000 a year and you made 1.5 million, and it's probably much bigger now because, you know, years later people grow and expand. So how do you tell somebody to tax the rich, but you're also benefiting? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, that's what I mean. So what I mean by disconnect is like you basically live in two different worlds. And if she fully like acknowledged it, I feel like your average person would be like, okay, it's whatever. But like I don't think she really understands like, just because you say the billionaires does not mean like it doesn't swallow it. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't come down any better than that. If this is what I'm saying. So it's just kind of weird. And what if I told you that she's had a bit of a controversy when it comes to prices of her own products, which is also why, if you are familiar with her, it's a bit weird as well. Now, before I preface this, I'm going to say, when it comes to products from any creator or any influencer, everything's going to be overpriced. That's just a fact, okay? But if you don't remember, she had these cookies, right? Where they were going for about like $24 for a 4-pack of cookies, okay? And if you want to know what a review would like for one of these, let's cue our favorite streamer of all time.
Anybody here made like mud cookies as a kid? So it's almost like when you first put it in your mouth, it tastes like mud and dirt.
Sorry. Sorry, mud cookies is crazy. But anyways, and of course, naturally, you know, I guess people were like, why are these cookies so expensive when I could get something for cheaper at Costco, whatever, all right? And then, what was her reaction to it? It was something like, oh yeah,
When people are like, oh my god, $28 for cookies? It's 4 bags. That's $7 a bag. I know math is hard when you're an idiot, but like if you're a broke boy, just say so. Anyways,
If you're just a broke boy, then don't buy it. And then even going further down, you can see that in whatever tweet she said, while I said I was 100% intended to be a joke, I see why it came off as insensitive and I apologize for that. I also understand the current price of the cookies may be expensive for some, and promises will continue to consider pricing to keep mine as affordable as possible. I also want to clarify that this was said towards one rude chatter. I did not at all intend to be a general statement or towards my community. And so the reason why that one more disconnect comes in, where at the time this happened, people are going at you for your prices, and if you are a streamer for as long as she has been, she knows that like you get clipped all the time, and so that is just really bad timing. Okay, of course people made like 10-minute videos on it and all that stuff, and I was just like, even I commented on it a bit, but the whole point is that what I'm trying to get across is essentially the way that the brain works with some of these people, at least to me, is just really strange. I don't really understand it that much. That's what I find weird. Okay, and just for the record, you can apply this concept to literally anybody. Okay, it's not just not just her. She's just an example here. And if you look at like her Twitch stats overall, like here she has like 9.38 million followers. She has averages in her lifetime 13,000 average viewers. And by the way, just for perspective, that means 13,000 people are watching you like all day. Okay, that is very hard to do. Well, not all day, but 13,000 viewers come in like in and out and stuff, when most streamers are lucky to just get maybe 2. Okay, so yeah, that's what I just noticed when it comes to that stuff. So it's kind of interesting how she tried to present herself in one way, but it's like it doesn't really sit right, if that makes sense. Like, it just comes across as like you're just doing like a platitude per se. You're not really relating to the average person. And for the record, okay, not everything you do has to be like relatable. Okay, you don't have to be that, but you have to seem like self-aware, I guess is what I meant to say. That's what I mean. Like, that's what it comes across as, like a lack of self-awareness. And so it's kind of like if you're like a nepo baby, for instance, and you understand that you're a nepo baby, people don't really care that much. Okay. However, if you're like a nepo baby and you're like, man, my life was so hard growing up, it's like, dude, you lived in like an 8-bedroom household. What do you mean your life was hard? Or hard in that sense. I don't know. But anyways, that's just one example that I find it's interesting. And it's funny enough, like, you'll sometimes have like other streamers defend this stuff, and it's kind of like, are you really defending it because it's your friend, or are you just defending it because, do you really believe what you're saying? So that's just weird. It's kind of like, you have like one big circle conglomerate doing its thing, and it's just like, like, make it make sense. But anyways, enough about her. Let's go to another example, because this one's actually a bit more recent. Where do I start with you? The infamous Extra Emily. At this point, when it comes to her, I don't know why, but I usually see her in some kind of trouble like every other week. And it's almost comical at this point. But the reason I'm using her is just that, like, how I talked about a lack of self-awareness? Yeah, let's take a look at the infamous driving clip where she ran a red light. Now, there are cases where you can run a red light, like especially if you can't stop or something, but let's just at least look at why she ran it. Because maybe it was like an emergency or something. You never know what happens. So let's look at it together and get some context.
I better see all the pink. Yes. What's this? Okay, keep going. Okay, I'm stopping. Okay, we're good. Okay, no problem. That happens all the time. In Austin, like, the stoplights here are really long.
Hi,
So
Emily.
usually I just go past. Thank you, Gibberish, for the Prime. Appreciate ya. Why did you? It's fine. Like, people do that. As long as it's yellow.
Okay, so in case we missed it, For example, yeah, she kind of ran a red light while adjusting her camera and did ooh ah ooh ah ooh. Sorry, that clip doesn't seem very real when you watch it, but it's like, Jesus Christ. Now you might be asking yourself, okay, what exactly is, what about here? It's kind of like, it's almost like she kind of just brushed off. She casually, could have been in an accident, which is really weird because, like, every time every time that happens, and auto accidents are no joke. If you've ever been in an accident, like, ugh, it's a pain. Insurance and yada 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 and blah blah blah. So that could have been a very, like, thankfully speaking, that didn't end up being terrible. But it's kind of like, why? It wasn't really necessary for that kind of stuff. Anyways, but it just comes across to me like airheaded, and so, like, naturally speaking, if I'm watching this, I'm like, what am I watching? You know what I mean? But alas, there is a demand for it, so naturally, it is what it is. Anyways, but that's not really the main clip I wanted to look at, actually. The main one is, this is probably her most infamous one that occurred, and so essentially she was on camera saying that she doesn't pay her parents back for her tuition. Now, why someone would say this on camera, I don't know. I don't know why. But regardless of that, yeah, so that was a big one, and she got a lot of backlash for it. I mean, a lot of backlash for that. And then, so eventually she ended up, paying off the tuition. But let's actually look at the clip together, because it was, even the way it's presented is a bit weird, if you know what I mean.
Do you think that would be your best gift towards your dad or your parents, to pay back your tuition?
I'm never gonna pay it back though.
Wait, actually?
No, I don't want to.
But you could.
Yeah, but I'm not going
Wait, do you
to.
have student loans?
Yeah, student loans to my parents.
And you're making them pay it off?
No, like my parents paid, and then they're like, pay us back for college, and I just like don't want to.
Okay. But don't you think that would make them like really happy and proud?
No, they're fine.
Are you doing it kind of like almost out of spite because you're like, I don't want to because like I can, but I know that you guys don't need it?
Yes.
That's why you don't.
Yes, they don't need it. And I'm
You
like,
don't need it.
I'm just a bad daughter.
You are.
Yeah, it's fine. The only reason they want me to pay it back is because I'm a streamer.
Yeah, you should pay back.
Because I didn't use my degree. So they're like, okay,
How much is it?
170K.
You should pay it back.
I don't want to.
Oh, you-
I mean, I did pay them 10K, and then I was like, I'm over this. I don't want to pay.
There's a lot in that clip, but I think it's kind of like, the big question is that, if you have the means to pay back your parents for, being able to send you to higher education, should you do it, okay? Do you have to do it? I'm actually going to give you a hot take. Technically, you don't, okay? I know it sounds a bit weird. It sounds ungrateful, but hear me out, okay? You technically don't have to, because, it's kind of your parents' job to, support their child as much as possible, okay? And especially if you don't have the means to pay back, what kind of expectation is that? However, where I draw the line personally is kind of like, you have the ability to pay them back, so why would you not do it? That's where I draw the line. And if you have the ability to do it, guess what? I say you should. If you can't, and it's not financially feasible, it makes sense, okay? But if you can, and by the way, she's also not like some small streamer, she's one of the bigger ones as well, that's where, it gets a bit weird. But anyways, this does have a happy ending though. She did pay them back, and she even, I believe there's even a screenshot of it where she, shows the transaction of her. I don't really care that much, okay? I'm not into her personal life, but either way, it's still nice that this actually had a decent ending at the end of the day. And then also, like, a little tweet under, like, the reply was really interesting, and it's actually really highlights, like, the barrier between, like, your viewer and a streamer. It's like, here by Tectone, it says here, people made this shit mad weird. Why the fuck are people sweating your relationship with your parents? You had nothing to worry about, in my opinion. Internet getting too comfortable interfering in people's personal lives. And you might be asking yourself, that might sound reasonable, but here's where I'm going to counter it and say, this was on camera, recorded for people to see it. And so when something is public, you actually, can comment on it. That's why a lot of people commented on it at the time that it happened. So it's kind of interesting also that streamers will stream for 7 to 8 hours a day, showing off their personal life or showing off their life in general. And so you're inviting people in to do that. So it's it's kind of interesting how he says this, but it's like, no, they kind of bring it on themselves. So it's kind of like, you know, you have a burning house, but you're the one who dropped the lighter on the wood or something. That was a terrible analogy, but you get the point. Like, yeah, you started the fire, so naturally, people could be like, yeah, you got burnt. But like I said, happy ending overall. But what I meant to say about this? It's just really interesting because like it almost seems like this person is just genuinely like just not aware of anything, okay? Like at all. That's why people were like, that's kind of weird. And especially, oh my god, let me actually hide this real quick. Especially if you come from like I'll say immigrant just to make it clear. In immigrant backgrounds, especially, your parents are like not revered, but like you have like the most highest respect for your parents. Okay, you're just supposed to, at least for me, where I come from anyway. So imagine a lot of people hear that and you're like, what in the what? You don't pay your parents back and you can do it? And some people be like, oh, I wish I could have paid my parents back, blah blah blah. And even that clip, the guy said, I only have one parent left. So it's like. So it just comes across as like a spoiled brat. It's just interesting because like I find a lot of Twitch streamers exhibit similar behaviors. At least, fine, let me rephrase this. A lot of the popular ones exhibit behavior like this. But anyways, there's other controversy she's been in, but that's the one I really wanted to highlight to show you that like why these people kind of live in a different world. Even though the irony of all it is that, you know, they're supposed to be relating to everybody. So it's kind of like it's like a paradox, you know what I mean? So it's just crazy to think about. Crazy vibes. But now, that's the relatability side. Let's get into the idea side of it. And what do you mean by the ideas? I mean that, you know, maybe like understanding why somebody goes to where they go to. Like, why would somebody do something like this? And we're going to look at nuisance streamers. And not like completely nuisance streamers, but like we're just going to look at like one particular one. And then we're going to look at, you know, some smaller offenders, which is will be fun. All right, so our first contestant is of course Ms. Giff. Now, what did he do? What did he do exactly? And so I know I labeled him as a nuisance streamer, but in this case, he actually was one, and it's not something insane. It's not like he did something insanely illegal, but naturally, he did pull-ups on a cherry blossom tree. Now. If my knowledge of Japan is correct, you know, feel very correct me if I'm wrong, but it's pretty sacred tree, and I believe there's also like signs that tell you not to climb it. And so naturally, he does that, and people weren't too happy about it. And I actually have his apology if you want to read it with me. It just says here, like, hey guys, I wanted to make a quick statement about on the situation regarding the cherry blossom tree. A few days ago, I did pull-ups on a cherry blossom tree. I posted the video and went to bed. The moment I was informed by a friend on the severity of the situation, I immediately deleted the post and regretted my decision. I've been in Japan for a few months, and I loved the Japanese culture. I have loved it so much I came back twice. I've grown a lot here as a person. I've made so many friends that I truly value, and I've experienced so much of the Japanese culture that has changed my life for the better. I do not want to promote my actions as proper. They were wrong and should be seen as such. To any viewers or tourists coming to Japan, please understand these trees are sacred to Japan. Do not touch cherry blossom trees. They are sacred to Japanese culture, and they are extremely delicate. And to my viewers, please do not attack anyone for criticism of me in regards to the cherry blossom trees. I'm okay with the criticism, understand it was wrong. I hope through this people can learn from my actions. If you ever go to Japan, be mindful of their cherry blossoms, culture, and property. I apologize for doing those pull-ups on the cherry blossom tree, and I promise I will continue to be better, Ms. Now, that sounds like, yeah, sounds reasonable, right? However, I want you to highlight he came back twice. So if you came back twice, okay, I believe it's reasonable. You should know that to not climb the cherry blossom tree, maybe it's possible. Like, especially if you've already been there. Okay, maybe if he's never been to the country, you maybe could be like, okay, he made a mistake. But it's like really? Come on. Because he said he went there twice. And so naturally, him acting a fool in Japan is just like, make it make sense, okay? Do you, like, why would you post that, okay? So the question, because like, before you post something, all right, like any kind of a clip, you have to look at it and be like, okay, well, do I click post or not? Or if you stream it the whole time, it's like, he's been a streamer for a very long time, and he knows people are going to clip him, and he knows people are going to find it, and he's going to get pushback. So, yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, which is just like, so the whole point is like, you could have just not done it. Does that make sense? Like, I'm trying to rationalize like why you would do it, because if it was like a 10-year-old child, you could be like, okay, well, it's a child and they don't know better, but grown man, grown man. And even worse, that didn't help with the situation, is that actually somebody had criticized them, or Kaho Shibuya, if you're familiar with her work, collabs with a lot of people, okay? She collabs with a lot of people. And so she actually had, criticisms of Ms. Kif doing this in Japan as well. And then she actually ended up uploading, like, his alleged response to her in, on stream. Because apparently, well, allegedly, Ms. Kif wasn't too happy about her critiquing him in Japan. So let's watch some of it.
Creator, and it's all of a sudden like you were upset with me for making a big deal. If you want to explain yourself, I'm all happy. I'm always happy to appear in a stream or a video with just content, take the shit from your community, help make you look good by hearing your app. Let me know if there's anything you'd like to do. But please know it wasn't a personal attack on you or the other guys in the video. I would have felt and done the same to other creators I met. No girl in Japan are too frustrated with tourists causing troubles, whether they do that out of malice or oblivion. Now get it nice and simple, professional. And then the response. You know what? As an English speaker, it was like as a second language. English is my second language, but I guess I feel like my writing sounds more mature. Because the response I got was, now I have Johnny so many accounts of me. You don't realize what you've done to me. Please leave me alone. Me. What the fuck? What did I say? It's not about you. I'm so outraged. Wow. And I need to learn the bad truth. Oh yeah, I haven't met them or anything. It's never been like personal. Seriously, I'm outrageous. So such an immature response.
So anyways, allegedly, he's bad because you talked about it. Even though you posted your apology and you've been to Japan twice, according to yourself. And so you end up going on the tree anyway. And it's just weird to me. Like, that's the part I don't understand this person, like, on a level that I don't get why they did what they did. You know what I mean? And this is more for like comedy, so this is not, don't take these comments too seriously. But even like where I got this like clip from, he also says here like oh god. It says here, y'all acting like Ms. Kif tried to exterminate the Jews, but he actually just did some pull-ups on a tree. How do you go from pulling pull-ups on a tree to bringing up extermination of a whole race? Where's the... Sorry, wow. Oh, my voice is really bad. Where's the... Where's the connection? I don't understand. That doesn't even make sense. And then that's what it said here. He shouldn't have deleted them. She is actually an actual retard for going overboard on pull-ups. But it's like, if you look at it, there was one tweet. She made one tweet about it. Told him leave it alone. Okay? And then he posted his apology whenever he did that. And then he allegedly gets mad at her for talking about it. So it's like, first of all, if something's happening in public, anyone who says you can talk about it in private, it's like, you lost all that weight when it's like, if it's not a private matter, then why would you want to talk about it in private? That doesn't make sense. Or at least, you're not entitled to privacy. And anyways, it's just crazy to me how that happens. Oh man. Anyways, those tweets were just funny, okay? It's not like, I don't really care for like, your Twitter user 45, okay? It's like, it's what it is. But anyways, so it's all the big streamers, but you might be asking yourself, okay, well, what about like smaller streamers, okay? Is it possible, like, maybe, somehow all this talking about big streamers, but what about smaller streamers? Maybe do they get a pass? What if I told you about, our smaller offenders? And so we're going to start off with our first guy here. We talks about, what is your most traumatic experience? And so even in the clip, it also says here, interviewing NPCs. And so, naturally, the girl's boyfriend ended up finding out about this clip. And so he really, he gave him gave them a traumatic experience. So let's take a look.
Crystal, what's the most traumatic event that you went through in your life?
That's
hard one. I've been through a lot. I would say probably when my mom threw a lot of shit around in the apartment and just broke a lot of stuff.
Womp womp. Can I know like the most? Oh, nice to meet you. My name is Christopher.
I'm not shaking your hand. What's my most traumatic experience? I don't know, but I know what yours is.
I'm sorry. I mean, that sounds like a cheesy line you'd hear in a superhero movie, but I'm not mad at it, okay? You know, I'm not mad at it. It's just because, like, it just works. In this context, because these two are so stupid, oh, man, it just works every single time. It works every time. Oh, man. Shout out to that guy. But anyways, point is, like, you literally see somebody going like, oh, this happened to me, this is traumatic. And a guy went, womp womp. So you might be asking yourself, well, what's the disconnect here? This is like a humanity disconnect. Like, is it really worth it to, first of all, put somebody like, to womp womp someone's trauma to like, how many viewers were on there? As like, does that really work? And so, I know, like, okay, I don't understand the person themselves, but the reason why they do is, of course, like, you know, it gets you clicks, it gets people to watch you, all that stuff. But it's just like, for me, as a person, in general, speaking, is like, what's the point? Like, is it really worth it to do that? Okay? Like, if you want to clown on people, like, there's a lot of public, well, whoops, almost said that bad word. A lot of idiots online you can clown as well. So, him womping someone being having a traumatic experience, is like, why? Why? It doesn't make sense. But anyways, however, there's more parts of this clip, as you guys should know, actually. And it's actually funny what happens afterwards, because not only did the guy get his got a little Falco punched, he also ended up trying to confront him later on. So let's actually watch what happened, because it's pretty interesting.
Did I grab my phone like that? Hold on. Yo, stay right there. Come on, come outside.
No, I'm done with you. Get out.
Come outside. Come outside, GameStop.
Done with your fake ass. Go get your little digital clicks and all your bullshit.
Don't touch
Go
me.
somewhere else.
Don't touch me. I'm gonna punch you in your face.
Out of me.
Come outside the store so I can punch you in your face.
Fuck you. How old are you?
Come outside.
How old are you?
Come outside then.
No, fuck you.
Come outside.
No, fuck you. I'm done.
I'm gonna punch you right in your fucking face. Come outside, pussy. Yo, what if I just punch you?
What?
I should just punch you right now. You just pulled your ass out in front of a 5-year-old. You fucking.
Dude, I ain't no pedo.
Fuck you talking about? You a fucking weirdo. Fuck you. Fucking bitch. The fuck up, nigga. You a weirdo. You just pulled your ass out. You just pulled your ass out in front of a little kid.
Anyways, the irony is that, like, you know, he's talking all this stuff. First of all, why are you bringing a 5-year-old to interviews out of nowhere? And second of all, if you were going to fight the guy, okay, you would have just went for it. I don't understand what this idea of, like, come outside, bro. It's like, if you want to fight the guy, you know, at least if you're going to stand on business, stand on it. But why was he doing it? Because he got punked in front of his whole chat. And so he's trying to prove his honor. And so, yeah, I don't understand it. And like I said earlier, this applies to any, like, situation. Like, I've seen kick streamers, like, getting into crashes. I've seen them, like, you know, pull a gun out on people. It's a crazy world we live in. And for what? It's all to get some clicks. So I don't understand. Like, it just feels like, to me, growing as a content creator is a difficult experience. But, like, Jesus Christ, man, like, you don't have to. Is it really necessary to, like, you know, be a dick? Like, can you not be a dick and be a content creator? That's what that's my one question. Okay, is it humanly possible to not be a dick? Anyways, regardless of all that, we have our last person we want to look at, and we'll call him Jolly Smalley Part 2. And I'm gonna call him that because this guy, who knows who Jolly Smalley is, ended up causing some ruckus in Korea. But before he could get punished, he dipped. He said, "I'm out." And then he posted an apology. So I'm gonna play clips back to back, just because, just for simplicity's sake, because it's actually crazy to me. Imagine you see somebody getting in trouble in a country that doesn't play, and then you decide you want to go into that country and do the same nonsense. It doesn't make sense, bro. It genuinely makes no sense. But anyways, let's watch it.
Opportunity for people to see me dead. Damn. I'm gonna give myself a burger. Yo, don't touch me, bro. Well, fuck you, don't touch me, bitch. Don't fucking touch me, bitch. What's up with you? Fuck wrong with you? Get in that car, pussy. Get in that car, pussy. Fuck wrong with you, bitch? Niggas is crazy out here, son. I'll break your neck. Punk ass nigga. Niggas lucky, bro. I'm on stream, bro. They lucky. They lucky I'm on camera. I can't put down the cup. Sipping.
I appreciate Korea so much. In the future, I'm going to learn from my mistakes and learn how to move better. I believe at the end of the video, I reacted in a way that I shouldn't have. I got very angry and I reacted verbally. But again, I did not lay a hand on that gentleman and he did not lay a hand on me. Kick has already had a lot of bad publicity with Johnny Somali. And I want to let people know I'm not a Johnny Somali 2.0. I don't respect him. I don't want to be like him. So it's unfortunate that I'm being compared to him.
Blah, blah, blah. I'm not trying to be compared to Johnny Somali, and you walk up to a random dude and you harass him and blah, 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 blah. It's like, I can't do this nonsense anymore. But anyways, so it's just really interesting how, like, you look at the streaming world and you just see it's just filled with a bunch of... Actually, no. I'm not going to say it like this way. There are, like I said earlier in the video, at the beginning, there's streamers I genuinely like, but of course, they're never ever gonna get, like, big publicity because they ain't doing stupid stuff like this, okay? These are the ones that I watch. The streamers that I watch, or at least those clips of them that I watched, they're usually controversy-free. I watch a lot of traveling streamers, to be fair, at least clips of traveling streamers, because I'm always curious about travel. It's one of my interests. But anyways, so it's just, like, to me... When I look at, like, streaming culture, like, as a whole, though, especially, like, the more other side of it, it's really a weird place when you really think about it. It's like, one half you have, like, a bunch of people who never grew up out of high school. At least it feels like people didn't grow up out of high school. And mind you, high school antics are genuinely insane sometimes. Not insane, but, like, they're very stupid when you break it down. Like, and I think about my own high school experience. There's a lot of stuff that's like, man, that was stupid. But that's the whole point of high school. Like, you're there to make mistakes. And hopefully stay out of trouble. But, yeah, but then you see that being reflected, like, in here. It's like, what is wrong with these people? And then you go to, like, smaller people or smaller streamers, and it's like, it's not much better either. At least the ones who get clipped. It's not much better over there either. They're trying to farm outrage, or they're trying to get, you know, the closest to clips. And the reason why, speaking of Smalley, that, like, he was even doing what he did, because he did it for the money, okay? Did it because even though he was getting embarrassed everywhere, he did it for the money. So, wait, what else is there to say? But anyways, yeah, so I just make this video because I really, to me, like, I just find, like, a lot of streaming, to me, even, like, especially now, I can't get myself to watch it because it just feels like it's like a whole different, like, alien planet, I guess you could say. It feels like a weird place. And so, and then I watch these people, I'm just like, yeah, I can't see myself watching them. Of course, naturally, I stick to my own interest anyways. But, yeah, that's kind of it, really. Just, yeah, streaming is a weird place, and the fans are not much better. But then again, if you've been around for long enough, you've met worse fandoms, like, you know, K-pop, and, you know, gaming, and, you know, stands in general for celebrities. So, either way, it's, yeah, it is what it is. But... anyways, if you made it this far in the video, thank you very much. Actually, if you enjoyed this type of content, and this was a bit of a different style today, so, you know, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and follow my social down in the description below if you want to see more of that. I was away for a bit because naturally, I did have stuff to take care of because, you know, month of April tends to be a bit of a stressful time. So I should be back to regular uploading, yeah, this week. So yeah, if you stuck around, thanks for watching. But yeah, I want to hear your thoughts actually about streaming culture as a whole. Maybe I missed the mark on something. Maybe you agree or disagree with me. Do tell. I'm curious. Anyways, ciao.